Let's talk about why do anxiously attached women struggle to get over heartbreak. I remember when I was going through this experience years ago. I think the number one thing that I was struggling with more than anything else is that I thought that what I was experiencing back then was love. Now, it turns out that it was not. There is a difference between love, which is a healthy and beautiful feeling and experience, and unhealthy attachment, which comes from our struggle as children, which comes from trauma, which comes from insecurities. So it's completely unhealthy and it is based on fear and anxiety. I think this is the number one reason that I struggled with that kept me from healing way longer, because I thought that, well, if this is love, then I have to fight for it. I can't just let it go. If this is love, I have to prove that this relationship is going to work. And especially because I was highly motivated, I was a high achieving person. So anytime you give me a problem, anytime you give me a challenge, what is the first thing that I would want to do? I want to work hard to prove that I can solve this problem, to prove that I can work this challenge out, because this is what I do. I am a high achiever, and high achievers achieve. They get the job done. So even in this context, I wanted to accomplish. I thought that if I can fight harder for this person, if I can convince him somehow that what we have is love, is that it's worth fighting for, then we can make it work together. And that kept me from accepting that the relationship is over. That kept me trying to fight a fight that was not mine, trying to fight for someone who already let go of me and who is not willing to invest in the time, the energy. So for him, it was out of comfort. It was something that he just, he didn't do much work for it. So why not? On the other hand, I took on my shoulders the responsibility of making the relationship work because I thought that it was love. And if you have love, what do? You don't give up on it that easily. You have to fight for it because that's what love is. Because of that, it was hard for me to accept that he was no longer in my life. It was very difficult for me to let him go because I wanted to keep him in my life because he fed the fear and the anxiety that I have. And that was the first distinction that I learned afterwards between love and unhealthy attachment. You see, love is beautiful. Love does not hurt. When you love someone, you care for his well-being as much as you care for yours. But whereas unhealthy attachment, all you think of is how can I stay with this person longer, even if staying with him means more pain for me. So unhealthy attachment does not care about the well-being of the people who are involved in the relationship. The second thing that I struggled with is that I always put him on a pedestal. I thought that he was such a great person, and I can't let him go because there's no way for me that I'm going to find someone else. I looked up to him and it seemed like I was a fan in the presence of a superstar. So I was always asking myself, okay, what can I do more to be worthy of him? Because the idea that I had back then was that I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of a good relationship. I'm not worthy of someone like him. So that means that I have to work. I have to give him so many things in return for him to want to be with me. And so the more I put him on a pedestal, the more I put myself down and the more I stayed emotionally connected to him because I thought that, well, there's no way for me to find someone as good as him. I stayed connected to him emotionally even after he was no longer in my life because I was ruminating. I was constantly thinking about him, wondering what he would be doing, whether he was, in a relationship or still single, sometimes sneaking on to check his social media accounts. So I did everything I possibly can to keep him in my life emotionally and energetically, even after he was gone from my life physically. And that meant that I was not doing the proper work for myself to accept that the relationship was over. and to start to allow myself to let him go, to accept that this person is dead energetically and emotionally, mentally, to accept that he is no longer available to me. Because you know what? What I realize is that the physical absence of someone from our lives, it does not mean that we are no longer attached to them. He was all I could think of all day, every day. The last thing is that because of these two things, and of course other elements that I'm going to cover in other videos, it meant that I did not do the work on myself to heal the anxious attachment style that I had. Well, actually, back then, I did not even realize that I was anxiously attached. I thought that I would just, I was in love, and it's so hard to break up with someone that you love. And so it did not occur to me that I had issues that I need to tend to. Had I started to do the work earlier, I would have been, far ahead in a much shorter amount of time. But I did not put the energy where it belonged on me. So I thought, well, maybe I was not lucky enough because I found the one, but then he was gone from my life, and that I'm not going to find someone else as good as him. I did not think about, okay, well, what could be the reason that I was attracting that kind of person into my life. I did not tend to my own wounds. I did not look into the insecurities, the traumas that I had. I did not look into the patterns that I had in the relationship, the early signs that I totally ignored, of course. I did not do the work on myself. That was a difficult lesson that I learned after that. Anytime we go through pain in life, this is an opportunity, a chance to work on ourselves, to learn something. Ignoring the pain, dismissing it, trying to run away from it, does the opposite. It keeps it alive inside of our bodies, inside of our minds, and it keeps us, stuck in the same cycle of repeating the same patterns that are not serving us. What I learned over time is that anytime I go through pain, this pain is carrying a message for me. This pain is an opportunity for me to learn, to improve, and then to keep going as someone who is better. That's what growth means. It means that every time we come across a new experience, an event, we get as much of it as we possibly can. Take from pain more than it takes from you. This is what I learned. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if this resonates with you, and if you have any other topics that you would like me to create videos about, especially when it comes to how to heal after a breakup for anxiously attached. Take care of yourself, and this too shall pass.